platforms. It's professional wrestling's greatest, largest, privately owned wrestling library. All the classic hits, flips, slams, and pins of yesteryear are on one place. It's Ultimate Classic Wrestling. Check out the Nature Boy Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Mr. USA Tony Atlas, Tito Santana, Rick Martel, a who's who of professional wrestling's greatest spotlight stars ever to grace the squared circle, all in one place. Grab the best seat in the house for memories and mayhem on Ultimate Classic Wrestling.
I want to welcome everybody to the PWZ podcast. Jacques Rougeau, how are you, sir?
How you doing, Rick?
I am fantastic. It's a complete honor to have you here, and I am aware that you're having a big competition in accordance with your school.
Yeah. Well, I don't have my school anymore. It's more I closed my school at COVID, and now I'm just doing this competition. It's an amazing competition. It's actually right now the biggest competition around the planet. It's an opportunity for Canadian wrestlers to make it to the big leagues. And so we started that last year, and I asked all the independent wrestling companies across the 10 provinces of Canada to send me some footage, the wrestlers, and then out of the 40 participants, we chose some to do a wrestling academy, which was an elimination, if you'd like, 4 shows, where we had judges and people voting for the people who keep on going. And in the finals, we had QT Marshall there on the giant screen from Atlanta, Georgia, on the Nightmare Factory, which was choosing the 4 winners, which they went on to wrestle 3 months training with Billy Gunn, Cody Rhodes, and QT Marshall, 5 days a week, and went on to big things. They went on to wrestle on Rampage and Dark, on Dynamite at the first ever show of AEW in Canada in Toronto. They won $5,000 each, so they had a lot of good things. They had also a toy company in Australia that make them wrestling figurines. So that was fun. I remember when I had my first ones, that was the best thing. But going to Toys R Us and seeing my figurine there, that was awesome. But anyway, all that to say, it was a great competition last year, and with the success that we had, and with the success that we had last year, we went up this year and found new sponsors, and now we got 3 winners this year that are going to win $10,000 each, and one woman and 2 men, and we're going to go ahead and give them the 3 months at the Nightmare Factory also, with Cody Rhodes, who just was main event at WrestleMania, and Billy Gunn, QT Marshall. So that's pretty amazing prices for Canadians, to have that opportunity to go and make contacts.
Yeah. You did send along some videos with QT Marshall announcing some of the winners, correct? So I would like to play that right now before we get any further.
Great.
The winner that will be going to All Elite Wrestling and to the Nightmare Factory is going to be Jessica. The winner is Jeremy Prophet. I'm going to go with Matt Black and Dylan Davis.
En 2022, Lutte Académie de Jacques Rougeau a couronné 4 personnes gagnantes avec $5,000 et 3 mois at the Nightmare Factory. In 2022, Jacques Rougeau's Wrestling Academy had 4 winners of $5,000 each and 3 months at the Nightmare Factory. Mais cette année, c'est beaucoup plus d'argent et toute la planète lutte en parle. This year, it's way more money and the whole wrestling planet is talking about it.
Hey, Jimmy, how you doing? $10,000 Canadian American. Nitro Girls.
Is it true? $10,000 for the winner?
Whoa, $10,000?
Yeah!
Wow! Hey, $10,000?
Yeah, man.
Ho!
Hey, Jay.
Mountie,
How you doing?
$10,000?
Yeah.
$10,000?
Nasty boy.
Hey, $10,000? 3 months at the Nightmare Factory?
Yeah!
Oh, that's nasty, baby!
Hey, Mountie! $10,000?
Yeah. Hey, Dad, how you doing?
$10,000?
Yeah, $10,000. Hey, Alicia.
Hey, Mountie.
Hi, how you doing?
Wait. $10,000?
Yeah.
And 3 months at the Nightmare Factory?
Yeah.
Yes, this year, 3 winners will bring home $10,000 each. Oui, cette année, les 3 personnes gagnantes remporteront $10,000 chacune. Et 3 mois haut, and 3 months at the Nightmare Factory. Qui seront les personnes gagnantes de 2023? Who will be the winners in 2023? They'll have to do the work. Thank you to our champion sponsors. Merci à nos champions commanditaires. Lutte Académie de Jacques Rougeau débute le 7 mai à Montréal. Achetez vos billets sur le site web du Club Soda. Jacques Rougeau's Wrestling Academy starts in Montreal on May 7th. Get your tickets on the Club Soda website. We'll be there. Will you? Nous serons là. Y serez-vous?
Thank you very much.
Amazing, huh? Well, it's amazing. Yeah. You know, my father, when I was young, I remember, Rick, my father, when he was young, he told me there was 2 criteria to make it in the business. You know, he said one of them was being at the right place at the right time, and the other one was knowing the right people.
Right.
And this is what Wrestling Academy is doing for all the Canadian content. You know, the spending 3 months with these guys over there in Atlanta, it's like, okay, the first week you're there is hello, Mr. Marshall. How you doing, Mr. Marshall? How you doing, Mr. Rhodes? And then, but when you've been there a month, it's like, hi, QT, like, you know, hi, Cody. And then after 2 months, it's like, hey, you want to come to my house, do a restaurant, a barbecue or something? And so you make friends after 3 months, you know, you make contacts. And the greatest thing about it is you're talking about 3 great teachers. Because when I stopped last fall to see my winners, I stopped in Atlanta, Georgia on the way down to Florida because I'm a snowbird now. And I was going down with my RV. And I stopped for a week, and I couldn't believe how much these guys are giving out to the students, like, you know, taking bumps and flying all over the place, and how intense they're working to teach these guys, and to have 3 teachers like that, it's absolutely amazing. And this year the contest is so fun. You know, and you guys could, by the way, you could follow this on wrestling-academy.ca. You could go follow the whole competition this year. You could see last year's competition. But it's just an amazing thing for me and my girlfriend to put this together. It's just my passion of wrestling, and to be able to be a trampoline for these Canadian contender and wrestlers. It's amazing.
I mean, you've had an amazing career, so I'm sure that you could teach these kids an awful lot.
Well, you know, and you look into the greatest thing about the Cody Rhodes and Billy Gunn and QT Marshall is they're 3 different teachers. You know, one teaches them more about the entertainment side, the other one more about the interviews, more about the bumps, more about they all have knowledge that, you know, any wrestler would like to have. So to spend 3 months with them there, it's just amazing. And this year, what's fun about the competition is QT Marshall enjoyed it so much last year when he came into the finals to choose between the last 8 to choose the 4 winners, that this year, I remember the next day of the competition, QT I called him up just for the fun of it. You know, I said, hey, QT, I said, how did you like this whole thing? You know, this whole summer, these 4 events and the whole competition. He said, I love it. He says, are we doing it again next year? And then so he was so happy. And so this year, like, you know, it's just, and this year, what's fun too, is, you know, when you build a concept like that, a new project like that, you learn a lot from the first year. You know, I learned so many things, and one thing that I learned, like last year, I remember when I took all the 41 contestants, and I took them, and I booked the 4 shows. Well, I made sure in the quarterfinals that there was one a little better than the other one. So I wanted to make sure that all my good talent at the end would meet. You know, and that's no good. And so this year, what I did is I put the best talent against the best talent right off the bat in the quarterfinals. So right after the first quarterfinals, and QT Marshall said, I remember the phone call we had. He says, Jacques, he says, next year, he says, I don't want to be here for the finals. He says, I want to be here when you come to Atlanta this fall. I want to choose the participants with you. I want to be there for the quarterfinals on the giant screen. I want to be there for the semifinals and the finals. He says, I want to be everywhere. So this year, QT Marshall is going to have a hard job to choose, because even in my first match, I have this two big giants that are favorite to win this competition, that are going head to head right off the bat in the quarterfinals. So one of them, and now we've been talking about this for 9 months. So they've been priming, working out, getting ready, doing the work, getting ready for this for 9 months. And after that first match they have on May 7th at the Club Soda in Montreal, QT Marshall's coming on the giant screen and he's going to say, well, I liked your performance. I liked your gear. I liked your interview before the match. I like your ability in the ring. I like your charisma, but I'm going with you. And then one's going to fall down to his knees and he's going to break down because he's not going for the 10,000. He's not going to Atlanta. And the other one's going to probably be rolling and jumping up in the air. So we're living all these emotions through this contest, match after match with QT on the giant screen. So this is absolutely amazing.
Is there anybody that sticks out right now that you think might have this?
Yes, but I'm not going to pronounce myself but they are, to be honest with you. Here's the good thing about it. Last year there's 10 provinces in Canada.
Right.
And last year when I started this project, I must admit there was a lot of haters out there, and you know how the business is. So I had 21 inscriptions from Quebec, the province of Quebec, and only like 19 from the whole 9 other provinces. Like nobody believed in this project. Nobody. So now, after all the winners won the $5,000, they went to spend the 3 months. They went to AEW. They got the figurines. So now when we send out the inscriptions this year, instead of having, like I said, 21 from Quebec, 19 from Canada, I had only 11 from Quebec, and I had like 60 from Canada. So now the competition is absolutely triple. It's like all the big guns are coming from Vancouver, from Edmonton, Calgary, Nova Scotia, Winnipeg. All the big guns are coming out now because there's 10 grand to win there, and there's going to be 3 winners of 10 grand. Plus, when you go to the Nightmare Factory for 3 months, that's at least, I don't know how much it's worth. I never asked QT, but it's worth at least $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, to go spend with these guys, these professionals that are top guys that are training. So the guy that's going to win this competition, the 2 guys and the girl, they're going to win something like $15,000, $16,000. So that's a big prize for independent wrestlers that are on the when they're used to doing shows for a couple of $100 a night.
If they're lucky, a couple $100.
Yeah, so I don't know how much they pay them, but I'm just saying that they make $17,000 for wrestling 3 times if they make it to the end. It's absolutely amazing. And here's another thing that's absolutely amazing about this project is as we're going along in this competition starting May 7th, QT Marshall is going to eliminate some people as we go along after every match. But this is what QT gave us a candy this year. He says, what I'm going to do is, so we talked about it. I suggested to him, and he really liked the idea. He says, what we're going to do then this year, he says, out of all the contenders that are eliminated, because we only picked 34 out of 71. We only kept 34 this year. Wow. But he says, out of the 34, the ones that are eliminated, because my first show is the 7th of May, the quarterfinals. The second show, the 4th of June, is still quarterfinals. And then in August, on the 20th of August, is the 10 best of May are going against the 10 best of June. That's in August, and that's going to be the semifinals. And on the final show on the 17th of September, QT Marshall, he's going to choose one of the guys that was eliminated during the competition, and he's going to come to Montreal. He won't be in the giant screen. He's coming live to Montreal, and he's going to wrestle against one that he's going to choose himself. So that's a consolation prize for those who don't make it to the finals. So what a great thing. You get eliminated in quarterfinals at the beginning, but I still have a chance to wrestle QT Marshall the night of the finals, So that's absolutely amazing.
And QT is seriously a great wrestler, so that'll be a great opportunity for that person, I believe.
And I also think that I don't watch wrestling anymore. It's been a long time since I watched wrestling. I haven't watched one wrestling show in 30 years. Not one.
Wow.
And not one. I had my falling out with Vince, and that was it. I turned the TV off, and that was it. I never watched wrestling again. But I could tell you that from the people and the friends that I talked to, that talked to me, I think that QT Marshall has a nice role right now with AEW. Like he's in a gimmick there with a couple of people in there, like a little storyline there that's very, very popular. So to have the opportunity to wrestle with QT Marshall like that, I heard he's red hot. So what a nice thing for one of my contestants in Canada to wrestle him.
There's a really great documentary out on QT Marshall, actually. So
I heard about that. I'm gonna have to
it's
go
awesome.
watch it.
If
I
you
heard
ever,
about that.
I don't know if you have the streaming app and where you're from, called Tubi, but it's up on there for free. So it's a really good watch.
If you have a chance, maybe you could send me the link or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that very much.
Yeah, it's really good watch. It goes through his whole career and him trying to get to where he is now. Yeah, shows him at the Monster Factory. It's really cool. So I'll definitely send you that.
Is it the Nightmare Factory, or was it another name, the Monster Factory?
Well, the Monster Factory, the Monster Factory used to be Larry Sharp's school, if you remember back in the day.
No, I don't.
It's apparently he breeded like a lot of great professional wrestlers out of the throughout the 90s up to however long, but a lot of WWE stars are there now. Came out of there, like Damian Priest came out of there, and Matt Riddle trained there.
Sorry, don't name any names. I'll be embarrassed. I don't know any talent. The only guy I know in there is Kevin Owens, because he was my student. He was, I'm the one who trained him when he was 14 years old. He came to see me, and he stayed with me for 4 years. We were training 3 times a week, 2 hours a day for 4 years. So I showed him how to walk, how to talk, and how to run. So I know him. I also know the other one there from Montreal that's doing really well. I don't know him personally, but I heard a lot about him lately.
Sami Zayn.
Sami Zayn.
Yep.
Yeah. So I didn't know, because I haven't, like I said, I haven't been watching wrestling at all. So, but after the big publicity stunt that just had in Montreal, that everybody pretty much now knows Sami Zayn, especially after WrestleMania.
Right. Yeah.
But so that's
definitely
all good.
Different. Yeah. We do have a promo from a guy. I'm not sure his name because it doesn't say it here on the screen. The big guy with the tattoo on his chest.
Yeah. He's one of the. There's actually 2 promos. You'll see there's the guys that are meeting each other in the quarterfinals, that they're both favorites, but one of them's going home and one of them keeps taking the 10 grand and keeps going. Watch that. That's cool.
Why don't we just play that? So
great.
Right here.
Great.
Wrestling Academy 2023 is upon us in Montreal, Quebec, and the Giant Orion is making his way from the wild, wild west to invade some new bilingual stomping grounds in Montreal. And although French may be considered the language of love, I assure you, Montreal, I will not be bringing any of that with me. I'm not coming to Montreal to shake hands with the tiny French fans. I'm not coming to Montreal to take pictures with Grandma and Grandpa on their one night out a year. I am coming to Montreal for one thing only, and that is to win Wrestling Academy 2023. And who is the first person that Jacques Rougeau sticks in my way? Clutch Jesse V. Now, Jesse, I get it. You're used to being a big fish in a small pond, but you are about to dive into the ocean, my friend. And in that ocean, there are sharks waiting to devour their prey. And I am the mythical megalodon of Canada, my friend. I am at the top of the food chain. And you, Jesse V, are nothing but my next meal. Get ready, Montreal. Get ready.
All right, and we're back. So,
hey, big guys, huh?
Yeah, man, that's amazing. Those guys, that guy did cut a good promo. I thought, it's not easy to sit there and talk and try to convince that fan, pull that fan in. That's a very important part of wrestling.
And the thing about it, which is fun, I remember I was in London not long ago with Shawn Michaels and Bret, and we were doing a Comic-Con, and Bret was telling me how much the last time that he did something with Vince, and them, it was like it was so hard because they gave him a sheet and they gave him something that he had to read, like a script, for the promo. Yeah. And it's like, holy shit, I couldn't do that. When I was ad-libbing, when I was doing my Mean Gene with Mean Gene and everybody else, and it was like just what came through my mind and came through my passion and came through my heart, I shared. But if I would have had to read something and to learn something by heart, it's not me. Yep. So it doesn't come from me. So Bret was telling me how hard it was, and that he certainly didn't like it as much as when we were doing it in our days, when you do an interview and you'd step on Mean Gene Okerlund's toe while you're doing the interview, and then you blame him for it, live on the interview, like, hey, and then just cut the conversation, come back to what you're saying, and it made the people real. It made the characters real, and So these guys are doing all this, and I'm giving them green light. I don't want them to have any scripts. I want them to come on there and sell themselves, their characters, and to show us that they really believe in themselves. And I try to give them most advice. The biggest advice is like, remember, when you leave the curtain and you come out of the curtain, you're that person. And until you cross back the curtain, you stay into that character and you never let it go. Not for 1 second. You don't take a bump in the middle of the ring and you fix your tights. Because if you're fixing your tights, you're not hurting that much. Or you're not in character. So all this is good because and the good thing about this contest too, which is amazing, Rick. I'm saying amazing because I'm so proud of that, because I had my own federation for 20 years before COVID.
I know. Yep.
And the thing about it is, believe it or not, and no offense, but there was no girls in my show. There was no sexual content. There was no chairs. There was no tables. There was no fuck yous. There was no, it was all family orientated. You were in the ring for your ability in the ring, for your charisma, for your high flying, for your suits, your costumes, and your charisma. And you had to go and get the crowd that was like 6 years and older, and just go and seduce them. So all my crowds that I used to go get for 20 years, I'd go in companies and sell my tickets by myself, fill out the arenas, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people. They were, most of them, all virgins. They had never been to a wrestling show. So I went to see the bosses of the company, says, hey, give me your kids like they were mine. I'll put you in an environment where the kids are going to have so much fun, and it's going to be so clean and so nice that when you see your kids have fun like that, then you're going to have fun. And well, let's go back to where a headlock means something, and where a tackle, the guy takes a tackle and he could sell it for 3-4 seconds, and the other guy could go talk to the people for a second, and less is more. I was always brought up in a situation where do a little less, but make it mean something.
One of the things that I always like to say, because wrestling today is way different than when I was watching you wrestle. My favorite expression is that less is more, because it means something. Everything is just so overdone. And now I know you don't watch today, but I sat there watching WrestleMania this year, and then the main event, it was a fine match. It was good until the last 15 minutes that everything was just so overbooked just to get to the end, between tables, interferences, chair shots, and whatnot. And at that point, I had just kind of lost interest in a way.
The older people like us, that were shown differently. They go back and a lot of the people come up to me in Comic-Cons around the world, and I'm doing them, I'm doing 10 to 15 Comic-Cons a year now, and all the fans that used to come see me, sometimes I sign for 3 hours without stopping, and they all come back to me, and I don't know if they're just being nice to me, but they all say that the wrestling of the 80s and the 90s, early 90s, was the best wrestling. Was the best era, when Coco Beware had his birds, and when Hacksaw Jim Duggan had his 2x4, when Jake had his snake, and when Macho Man, ooh yeah, and when Hulk was do your homework and take your vitamins, and it was a good time then,
I still go back and watch 1980s wrestling, or even from the 70s, very little 90s, but it's got to be, I usually cut my stuff off 1992, 93, you know what I mean? So, but it's it meant much more, I think, in that era. It was
everything was so, and everything was I can never forget the, where I seen a lot of changes, but WrestleMania 3 was a big change, Pontiac Silverdome, 94,000 people, and even that was a fast-paced show, but Andre the Giant against Hogan, and to see that, to what peak and what might that all was brought up to, being in a golf cart to go to the ring because it was so far.
Right.
And but in those days, the storylines, I remember the Harts against the Rougeaus. I remember me and Big Boss Man and the jailhouse match, how much fun people had just seeing me getting my prints, my fingers, and, and getting the camera behind me, and being like a real bandit, but there were storylines. It was fun. Tito Santana was a great guy to work with, everybody had their own little character, and the things that people tell me is everybody had an identity then.
Yes.
Where there's a lot of people that look like a lot of people today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to explain. It's like you said, everybody's just kind of plain today, but they've got to do a million different things to try to get themselves over, such as, you know, chair shots, diving off the top of a cage or whatnot. And the wrestling is just different. It's people are more prone to getting injured today as well, and possibly permanent injury. And it's, you said that you make a family-oriented show. I would love to see that on television. There's nothing like that on television right now. It's kind of upsetting because everything is just wild and crazy.
Well, I think you should encourage the people to go on starting May 7th there, and the next few days after that, the time that we edit the show, a couple of days, so around May 9th on my YouTube channel or on wrestling-academy.ca. Go follow the first show. It's amazing because we have a group also that's called Atomic Train, that they were in a big singing competition 20 years ago. And that's where I got Wrestling Academy, because there was a show called Star Academy where it was all singers coming from everywhere, and they were eliminating them every week, and the winner would sing with Celine Dion at the Montreal Forum, you know. So then I thought, why don't we do that with wrestling, you know? And so starting May 7th, after that, start looking on wrestling-academy.ca. And this group, Atomic Train, that won the competition like 20 years ago, didn't win it, but was part of it, the competition. They're our main song this year, our theme song, Playground. It's called Playground because it's a hell of a playground where we're in, you know, and they're coming to sing. So when we do the countdown, like 3, 2, when we're going live on YouTube, 1, and then they're in the ring and they're playing their song, Playground. Yeah, and it starts, it's wild. And we're going into a show where it's all entertainment for the whole family. So if you have a chance, go check it out. Wrestling-academy.ca. Right after May 7th, it's starting the competition. And if you want to go now, you can see last year's competition. The only thing I'm telling you right now, I'm preparing you right now, if you go see last year's competition, don't listen to the commentator. He's really bad. It's me. I'm a better wrestler than a commentator. And because I didn't know the wrestling moves a lot, I was doing a lot of wow and yow, yay, you know, just having fun out there, you know. But this year I have Jeremy Prophet, one of the winners that's going to be with me. He's going to call more the moves and everything of today, the moves of today. But if you want to go have great fun and live some great entertainment and just some feeling, and you'll see QT at the end where he eliminates the winners, and as we go along also we vote for the winners, the people vote, and it's fun to see the competition.
I'm going to put a link to your YouTube channel in the description of this episode, so anybody that's listening, go click that link and subscribe, share it with your friends.
Thank you so much.
So get people out there to watch this, because now I'm very interested in watching this. Sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, there's a lot of Canadian talent out there that could be on the roster, you know, the big leagues, because, you know, and the problem that we have now, the Canadian wrestlers have now, is they can't get working visas, they can't get working papers, and WWF at the time, WWE, WWF, they had a company that was in Toronto. They were established in Toronto, so they could get the papers, the working papers, but AEW can't do it now. So it's like, so now they're trying to work something out where they could get some Canadian talent to go in there. So the only thing I'm doing right now is I'm taking the best of Canadian talent, bringing them to the Nightmare Factory in the States for 3 months. And now you got one guy from WWE, Cody Rhodes, and 2 guys from AEW, which are Billy Gunn and QT Marshall, taking a look at the talent. And if they see something they like, then it'll be up to them to make it happen. But I'm just like a little stepping stone for them there.
No, this sounds amazing. So I'm really looking forward to it now.
You know, I did Rick over 40 podcasts since last fall, 40 in Europe, Australia, all around the States, all around the world, promoting this show coming up on May 7th. So I could tell you right now, there's a huge interest in the world of wrestling. And if you go on my wrestling-academy.ca, you could click on all the characters that are there, all of the contestants are there, their pictures, their bio. You click on the picture, and then you'll see a 30-second promo with them in the ring talking and their best moves. And if you go higher up on the website, you'll see all my old friends like Undertaker, Bret, everybody. They all have. If you go on the Wrestling-Academy, they're all Tito Santana, Ronnie Garvin. I can't name them all. They're all saying a nice little word for Wrestling Academy. You could go click and see them talk about the $1 Million Man. Everything. They're all there. Everybody that I know, they all made the Nasty Boys. Everybody made a video saying, "Hey, go with Jacques Wrestling Academy. This is awesome," you know. And So it's fun. You can see that on the website.
That's awesome. Do you mind, now you mentioned a name that I don't hear too often anymore out of those. What about Ronnie Garvin? What's your relationship with him, and how was have you ever worked with Ronnie before?
Holy mackerel. We had the biggest feud that we ever had in Canada. The biggest feud tag team is the Rougeau brothers against the Garvins. And the Garvin brothers, Jimmy Garvin and Ronnie Garvin. Go see that on YouTube. Ronnie and Jimmy Garvin, the Garvin brothers with Precious as their manager against the Rougeau brothers. And you'll see the biggest Saint-Jean massacre on the 24th of June, when we had a big match at the Montreal Forum, 20,000 people. When we never had the match, they jumped us before the match. They hurt me. They blinded me. They hurt my dad, and that was older at the time, and they got him in the ring. And then we had a rematch, the Saint Jean Baptiste massacre on the 24th of June. Go see that match. You're gonna die. It's one of the best feuds that Quebec has ever put together, and so people really enjoy to see that match. The Rougeaus against the Garvins, and then to answer your question, Ronnie Garvin is a good friend of mine. He actually talks in my wrestling academy, but also I'm going to be spending next winter with him in Florida at the same mobile home park. We just negotiated that a week ago. I'm going to spend 4 months with him to go fish with him. I'm going to be go fishing with him and stuff like that. And you want to go see something nice too on the website. You can go see Ric Flair's interview about the Nightmare. I mean the contest, and Chris Jericho also did a nice one too. You have everybody around the world talking about this wrestling academy. It's fun. Yeah.
We actually have a promo from Jericho available.
Right.
So why don't we play that one right now?
All right, cool.
Hey, it's Chris Jericho here, just wishing everybody at Jacques Rougeau's Wrestling Academy in the 2023 class the best of luck. And remember, the winner gets $10,000 plus 3 months of training at the Nightmare Factory in Atlanta, Georgia, with QT Marshall, Cody Rhodes, and Billy Gunn. Do the work, and you can be a winner. Bon chance.
All right, and that was Chris Jericho. There we go.
And that's not just anybody, you know. And in the world of wrestling today, I think he's got a great position with AEW at this time. Yep. So yeah. And it's funny because when you talk about Chris Jericho, he just actually a month ago he invited me for the at the end of January next year. I'm going on a rock and wrestling cruise, a cruise ship that he does every year.
The Jericho cruise, yeah, that seems like really
so
big.
he invited the Mountie. The Mountie's going to sign some autographs and meet some people on the cruise next year. So 31st of January, I think. So that'll be fun.
The funny part is I've tried to get my wife to go on that trip for 3 years, and she hates wrestling, so she won't go with me.
Well, you know, I'm sure a big ship like that, there's a lot of things to do. You know, it's a big Norwegian. I think it's Norwegian, and it's like I think there's like 4,000 people on the boat there. So it's almost like a city. I don't know if you've ever been in a cruise before, but I've been on about 15 cruises. You know, and then the last 20 years, and it's the best thing that I've ever done. You know, as far as vacation.
I believe that I'm going on my first one this year, actually, with my wife. We're going to the Bahamas.
You're gonna love it. You're gonna love. How long are you going? How long are you going for?
I believe we're going for something like 4 days or something like that.
Okay, so that's
just about a weekend one. Yeah,
that's a quick one, but you'll still have fun at the casino and eating the nice meals and the shows. They have great shows on the ships there. But if you have a chance to go like a week or 10 days on one there, you really have the time to decompress, because when you go for like 4 days, you're so excited. 1 day, 2 days gone, third day is like, oh, we're leaving tomorrow. But when you go for like a 10-day one, the first 2 days, you know, you get to know the ship. 2-3 days. Next thing you know is the next 5 days, you're just relaxing. And it's like you have your spots where you go take the sun, where the band plays, and you have your drinks by the pool. And next thing you know is you make yourself a routine. I go in the gym in the morning. The gym is as big as an arena just about. But anyway, it's like it's amazing, the ships. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's it sounds like that sounds like an amazing time, to be honest with you. I haven't been on a vacation in years. We travel a lot for my son's basketball team. He plays tournaments. So
very good.
That's pretty much the extent of me getting away from Connecticut is going on like a 3-day trip for basketball.
Rick, did you have a chance to see this year that the nice video that Hulk made us for the Hall of Fame?
I did not see that. No.
Wow, you should go see that on YouTube. Hulk Hogan, he prones for the fabulous Rougeau brothers to be in the Hall of Fame. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's a nice video. I was so flattered when I saw that. You know, you know what? I'm going to try and send it to you, the link. Okay, so you'll be able to put it in there. I'll send you the link, and it's awesome. You'll see Alka is just there and pulling for us. You know, and so you'll like this video.
You know, Maniacs, I was watching the WWE the other night, and I was real curious who the first inductee to the 2023 Hall of Fame was. Oh my gosh, it's Rey Mysterio. No one is more deserving. A champion, a great man, a great father, and a great husband. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. For years and years and years, he's carried the torch. But then I thought, you know, who could be next? Who could be just as deserving? And then my first thought was one of the greatest tag teams of all times. The Rougeau brothers, Jacques Rougeau brother and his brother Raymond Rougeau. Those two guys need to be in the Hall of Fame. I'm voting for them. Hopefully they'll be the next inductees in the Hall of Fame, man. Man, I just think it might happen. I got a really good feeling about that one, brother.
I want to know how that hasn't happened yet, actually, because I know in the 1980s you guys were part of possibly the greatest tag team roster in wrestling at that time period. I mean, and you guys were on top of there. However, have you not gotten to the Hall of Fame? I mean,
well, you know,
not to blow smoke up your rear end, but you guys are one of my favorite tag teams.
Thank you so much, Rick. To be honest, you're not the only one who feels like that. I'm the worst one that feels like that, because everybody that I've worked with, like long programs, they're all in there. You know, like the Hart Foundations and the Raw, you know, Shawn Michaels and Tito Santana and everybody that I work with are in there. And it's like, you know, I always said to myself, you know, to in a good movie to create Batman, you need a good Joker. You know, and I was the Joker. But you know, the funny thing is like, you know, I was there for like 11 years. You know, and from marathon matches, 1 hour matches, from everything that I've done, the jailhouse match, from there's so many things, and intercontinental champion, like taking it from Bret, giving it to Piper, even if it's a short time. Then 3 times tag team champion of the world with Carl Woodard as the Quebecers. You know, it's like, it's almost impossible that I'm not in there. But then again, I had a feud with Vince, you know, and I really, I've never hit it. In the last 25 years, I've always, every chance I had, I did a podcast or something, I always said, you know, the truth about that. And so that we didn't agree, and this is why we didn't agree. And I think that he didn't like the fact that I told him that he didn't keep his word. And then so I think it's personal. But I'm not the only one, I think, that should be in there with Raymond. I think the Demolition should be in there. The Killer Bees should be in there. Yep. You know, I think that everybody that brought WrestleManias to what they are today, and you know you know, it's nice it's nice that Donald Trump's in there and Mike Tyson's in there and Cyndi Lauper's in there and a lot of people are in there, but they didn't contribute to the wrestling business. Like, absolutely. You know, they did, and there's a lot of people that I think that I'd put Demolition, Killer Bees, and the Fabulous Rougeau brothers in there first, and because the Mountie always gets his man, but he didn't get Vince yet. So,
No, man, I think you're right, because those tag teams, those 3 teams you mentioned, I mean, they were so vital to the WWF at that time period, into, you know, from what, 1987 to like 1990, just about, maybe a little bit longer.
Yeah, because the Quebecers were 93. In 93, it was the Quebecers, and we brought a new era. Carl Ouellet and I, it was a new kind of wrestling, the Quebecers. But I wanted to say something there. Anyway, it'll come back to me. It'll come back to me. I wanted to say something about that's what happens when you get old. Oh, yeah, that's what I wanted to say. That every time I say that, it comes back to me. So it's like, I remember so many nights. I don't know if you ever assisted at one of those, but every time, like, you know, I mean, every show just about, that we were on the card with Hulk Hogan in the main event, like us with the Harts, because, you know, we wrestled the Hart Foundation for 4 years. 2 years we were baby faces, they were heels, and then we switched 2 years heels and then 2 years baby face, you know, and we switched Jimmy Hart as a manager. We stole him the manager and became All-American Boys, you know, but every match, and it was like that with the Rockers too, Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels, that so many times that you know, we'd get in the dressing room and always the sheet was the same way: first match, second match, third, fourth, intermission, then 5, 6, and Hulk. But every time we'd get in the dressing room, so many times that they take number 4 and they switch it to number 7. So they put Hulk on before the intermission, because either he had to go somewhere or do something, or he wanted to leave early the building, and they put us in the main events against the Hart Foundation or something like that, where we had to close the show after seeing 7 matches, and we'd still get the people up on their feet, to finish the show. So it's like just doing that for them should be some kind of recognition,
I think that's a testament to how good you guys were. If you think about it, you guys are getting those people. They've probably been sitting there for damn near 3 hours, probably tired, and you're getting them riled up on their feet again. You know what I mean?
And Rick, I don't remember one match, not one match in 11 years that I didn't get the people up on their feet in my match. I've always entertained the people. I've always had fun. They always were pissed off at me. They were mad at me, but they had a great time hating me. I have so many people that meet me today, and Jacques, you're such a nice guy, but Jesus Christ, I used to like to hate you so much, and it's okay. It's okay. That was my job,
I liked you guys as baby faces, but when that heel turn came, I was just like, man, this just makes you guys even better. For some reason, I thought it was awesome. There's a video that somebody made.
Rick, the reason for that was because we don't like heavy metal. We don't like rock and roll. All we like to listen to is Barry Manilow. Hey, we're all American, all of it.
I decided was talking to somebody. I said, in a phone conversation the other day, I was telling them how I was going to be talking to you, and I said, that has got to be the best wrestling theme entrance in the history of wrestling entrances, because it's hilarious to listen to.
It's catchy. And you know what was funny about that? We had a paragraph in there was saying, on n'aime pas les sentir, on aime les haïr, on aime les faire fâcher quand on dit we love the USA. Hey, and that was saying, like, we hated you so much, and we love to make you mad. And, but we were saying that in French, so people didn't know what we were saying. So we were bad-mouthing you in the tune. And then we were saying, we're all American. But it was so funny that, that was a great gimmick. And, that, to be honest with you, someone brought that up to me the other day, like out of the 10 best songs that they had in WWF.
This is the one-man gold mine, the one-man enterprise of professional wrestling and all entertainment, Flynn Hendricks. And you better believe when I'm looking for a good podcast to listen to, I go to my own. I go to the I Know You Hear Me podcast hosted by me, Flynn Hendricks.
That is such a fresh perspective for how you should look at life, too. I love that.
And then when I'm feeling spooky, I go to my other podcast, Tales from the Haunt.
All
myself,
I want my head shoved inside a 15-pound silicone mask. More. I want a bucket of sweat coming off me at the end of the night.
Just get you guys in there.
Dogs don't keep you guys some pull there, Rick.
Yeah, right.
I hate you so much.
Talk to other scare actors about what it takes to get into the world of scare acting. So if you're curious about how people became professional wrestlers, actors, prioritized their mental health, became entrepreneurs, avoided burnout, or got into scare acting, you need to go check out I Know You Hear Me and Tales from the Haunt, available on all podcasting platforms. And I know you hear me.
Hi, this is Bob Smith. You might remember me from my years at Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine. Well, now I've started a brand new podcast called The Outdated Wrestling Hour. Yes, we're going to take a whimsical look back at the wrestling figures, stars, and trends from years gone by. We're talking 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and a whole lot more. There's going to be laughs. There's going to be fun. There's going to be action. You name it. Please tune in for The Outdated Wrestling Hour wherever you get your podcasts.
Wrestling fans, promoters, wrestlers, and anyone who enjoys pro wrestling now have something new to be excited about. The Wrestling Fans International Association, the WFIA, is back. WFIA is an association that exists to promote, grow, and support professional wrestling throughout the world. Membership is free. Your membership includes a free digital bi-monthly publication of the Wrestling Fan News newsletter, association updates, voting privileges, and much more. Please go to thewfia.org, that's THEWFIA.org, and become a member today.
How did your heel turn come about, to be honest with you? Because it just it wasn't necessarily like a traditional heel turn. You didn't attack anybody necessarily. It's just it kind of happened naturally, and Jimmy Hart's your manager. You kind of turned on the not in a violent way, I guess you could say.
No, and it's funny because it was so funny because the first 2 years we were in WWF, 86, 87, it was so funny because you guys are very patriotic. And the Americans are very patriotic. And, and to have two French guys, just ordinary, when you look at us come in the ring, the Rougeau brothers, simple guys, it's like, boring, get them out of there, send them back home. And then at the end of every match, we'd have people on their feet. Yeah. They'd love us. But at the beginning, when we come to the ring, go back to Canada, French frogs and this and that. Next thing you know, we'd win them over every night. We'd have 20, 25-minute matches, and we'd win the people over. But when we turned heel, God, it was our revenge now. It was like we had so much fun. Hey, wishing you a happy Independence Day when it was Thanksgiving, or just mixing up the and just showing that we were so proud to be Americans, but we were laughing at you guys. It was what a great revenge it was for us, to play that character. It was like, and it was really fun. And I got to tell you, I miss that. I really do.
No, you teamed with your brother. How long did you team with your brother in the WWF? It was about a good 5 years, right?
4 years.
4 years?
Yeah, 4 years.
Man, I'm sure you had to enjoy that, right?
Yeah. But we enjoyed, like I said, the first 2 years, I enjoyed the satisfaction of getting the people up on their feet after they were indifferent when we come in, and then win them over. And then the last 2 years, it was so fun because they hated us so bad. And, and we were really, we were doing our job. We were getting over strong. And then when Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson came in front of everybody and took the belts, they passed in front of us. We were promised the belts eventually soon, and we never got our chance. It was like, that's when my brother Raymond said, I had enough. Like, we gave enough to the business. Hey, we did some matches with the Rockers, marathon matches that would last an hour. And the one who wins the most falls, and it's an hour match, and going out there, and people never were bored for 2 seconds. And then at the end of the match, and we did that one time. I did it in London, and since it's 6 hours later over there, we did a match at noon in London, and we flew back here and we did a match at night in Philadelphia. We did 2 one-hour matches in one day. And then the same week after that, we did one in the Madison Square Gardens. We wanted to show Vince what we were doing. Pat Patterson wanted us to show Vince what we were doing. It was so great. The 4 guys in there knew how to work together. I'll tell you that much. And then and at the end of the hour match, we screwed Vince. We went to a tie 6-6 in the falls. And then Vince was all upset at the end because he wanted the Rockers to win, of course. And then I took the microphone on the floor. I said, hey, Rockers, I said, if you think you're going to get away with this, I want overtime. And then we go into the ring, and we did 11 more minutes. We did an hour and 11 minutes, and they beat us for the 7-6 win. And, and Vince went crazy, but he really enjoyed it. Everybody enjoyed that. And, the people were so happy when we lost the 7 fall. And so all this to say that, those were good times. They were good times.
Wasn't there a time now, if my memory serves me correctly, you actually did win the belts on a house show or something, and then the division was reversed? And so what was the reasoning behind you just not getting the belts, period? Or
I heard that happened quite a bit. Vince did that in a bunch of towns. They did it with the Rockers in Dallas, I think, and they did it with us. They did it with a couple of people, and I thought it was so cheap because but I think there's something about Bret Hart, I got to tell you. Bret was a close friend of mine. I started for his dad in Stampede Wrestling in 1977. Yep. He was driving the bus, Bret. He wasn't even a wrestler yet. And I started wrestling for them. And Bret was the kind of guy that when I met him back in WWF, he was either selfish or brilliant. But he was like, he never liked to lose, and he didn't like to do jobs. And it was like, so I think one of the reasons that they liked that was like they'd give like a false candy to the people in their hometowns, like, you know,
Right.
because there was 20,000 people when we beat the Hart Foundation for the belts in Montreal, and about 4 days later in the newspaper there was a little ad that said, "Oh, the Rougeaus are not champions because it was the wrong guy that was in the ring," or something like that. And when they got to TV on the weekend, not everybody read the paper.
Right.
So when they got to the weekend, and there was like 5,000 people waiting for us, jumping on our cars when we won the belts. You know, it was like a Stanley Cup win there for the Canadians, you know. And so people were so proud and so happy. And when they got to watch the TV on Saturday, the Harts came out with the belts instead of us, and they talked about another match that they were going to do with somebody else for the belts. So it was so bad. It was like so bad. It was like insulting the intelligence of the people. But you know, I heard that he did that a few places. But in the record books, in the record books on that night, the Montreal Forum, the Rougeau brothers beat the Hart Foundation, and what a celebration we had that night! It was like winning a Stanley Cup.
I guess somebody made a YouTube video of, I watched a lot in preparation of this on you and Raymond, and somebody actually mentioned that the WWE, does not even recognize that in their history books of you guys winning that night. So it's not even in the history. So it's kind of a shame that, you know, that happens kind of often in a way, you know.
Well, it all goes back to the same thing, the same grudge that I hold in my own mind and my own brain. That's like why we're not in the Hall of Fame, and it's always going to be the same. And another guy that should be in the Hall of Fame too is Rick Martel. You know, it makes no sense that Rick Martel he was AWA champion. He was such a great talent, an asset for the business, you know, and he gave out so much to this business and always had great matches and entertained the people, you know. So, but there's a lot of French guys that are not in there. And you know, so I just I say maybe one WrestleMania or so one day they'll have 2-3 French guys come in at the same time, maybe. But until then, I could tell you honestly, sincerely, from all the fans around the world that come and see me, they all say in their hearts that we are already in the Hall of Fame. So it's all good.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are remembered as one of the all-time greats. Trust me, it's like when I was prepping for this, and there's another guy that helps me out with my shows, helping with notes and preparation and stuff like that. We just had this really long conversation about you and your career, and so it's like it's not forgotten by any means, like any of that, you know, any of the history that goes on there.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, I sometimes, you know, have flashbacks, you know, and I just think right off the bat, I think of Coco Beware, I think of Hacksaw Jim Duggan, I think of Jake the Snake, I think of guys, you know, like King Kong Bundy. I think of guys that marked the wrestling business that were fun to see. Hulk against Bundy, you know, and Kamala against Hulk, and all those battles that they had in those days, you know, that they're good storylines, and so I don't think that people forget. I think it's good, like you said, and it's like that in movies. It's like that in everything, you know. People remember their youth. You know,
Yes.
and like this week, just this week, I got to tell you with my Wrestling Academy, it's in 3 weeks. But, you know, I told you I did about 40 podcasts in the last 9 months. But I got to tell you, this week it's rock and rolling in Quebec now. I got a radio show, a big radio show tomorrow. I got another one Tuesday night, the biggest station, where Raymond and I are reunited for taking open lines. You know, like people going to call in to relive the good years of the Rougeau brothers. And then I got the Montreal newspaper covering this event. 2 big full pages are coming up next week for Wrestling Academy. So there's a big, so people don't forget. And then, you know what? It may not be like that. It may not. I don't think it's like that. I don't think people forget us around the wrestling world of the 80s. But in Quebec, we are truly like legends. You know, like in Quebec, the Rougeau name, we're 4 generations of wrestlers.
Right.
And my dad, my uncle, my great uncle, my brothers, my sons, my 3 sons were wrestling for me for 20 years. And they were just awesome. So, you know, the Rougeau name will never be forgotten, at least not for a couple of 100 years, that's for sure.
What was it like growing up with your father as a wrestler, being in a wrestling family?
It was awesome. It was a passion of mine. You know, I was the lucky one. You know, I was out of the 3 sons he had. I think I was the most passionate, and Raymond, he didn't have a choice. He was the first one, so they put him in there, and he just followed the footsteps. But me, it was like I was the last one of the boys, and then the second one, Arma, he kind of just fell back on wrestling once or twice in his life, but it wasn't his passion. But me, I remember Abdullah the Butcher, Joe LeDuc coming at my house when I was 3, 4, 5 years old, and I remember putting a sheet on top of my head, going around the pool, going "Babs, Babs," and I used to imitate them. And for me, it was like a passion since I was a little baby, And I remember when they were doing the confrontations in those days, when the local newspaper, the whole Quebec newspaper would come to my father's house and in the suburbs, and then take the picture on the Sunday night for the Monday night match where they do a confrontation like boxers. They have the face to face, and the MMA they do that. So they have the pictures of Joe LeDuc and my dad face to face taking a picture main event. And I'd always try to sneak my head between my dad's legs, to be in the paper the next day. So when I get in the bus the next morning to go to school, I tell all the kids, "Hey, did you see the paper this morning? Yeah, your father's wrestling Joe. No. Did you see between my dad's legs? And there I was, So it's like, So me, I lived my dream. I'm still living my dream now with Wrestling Academy. So I was a lucky guy in life. I was very lucky to live my passion.
Yeah. That's amazing, really. What else did I have here? I have a couple other things. If you don't mind me going through some questions here, if you got some time here. You did. Hang on, let me just see. You ended up going to Georgia for a little while, correct? Wrestling in Georgia. Do you in the later 70s, if that's correct? Yeah. So you had a short run under Nick Goulas Mid-America as well. What was this like working down there?
Awesome. I went to Kansas City for Bob Geigels and Bob Brown, but Atlanta, Georgia was awesome. TBS, I was there for a year and a half, and Ole Anderson kept me there for a year and a half doing jobs for everybody. I had a chance to wrestle Ric Flair on TBS, and it was awesome. It was. I even changed my name there. I wasn't Jacques Rougeau anymore. I was Jerry Roberts. And then because I was getting beat so much every week after week after week after week, I changed my name. And just because I didn't want to ruin the Rougeau name that was the only place in Atlanta. When you were wrestling in Atlanta, you were seen across the country from Los Angeles to Boston. You could see TBS on every weekend, contrary to all the other small territories where you could go in for 3-4 months, get beat, and then leave and go to the next neighbor that was Tennessee, go to Kentucky. You'd have a all new start. But when you were in TBS, you didn't have a choice, you were seen across the whole nation. Yeah. But it worked against you, but it worked for you if you were a good talent. And I was lucky because out of all the jobs that I did, I always managed to put my drop kick off the second rope, my sunset flips, my high flying, I was putting my charisma in there. I had my firing comeback that I have as a baby face, and so Holy liked me a lot. And Ole used me a lot to create guys when they were there, and always yes sir, whatever he wants. I've always been a yes man in the business, so whatever they needed. So Ronnie West was a referee at the time, and he was working assistant booker, and Ole was the booker. And that's so funny. It's ironic because today I'm working with Cody Rhodes at the Nightmare Factory, his son, that's taking my talent. And when his daddy took care of me, Dusty Rhodes, I had so much fun with Dusty and Tommy Rich and those guys, Pat Thunderbolt, Pat Patterson, and Wahoo McDaniels, and it was a good time over there. I learned so much in Atlanta.
You brought up Tommy Rich. I saw him at a convention about 2 years ago, or at a signing here, and about 2 years ago. I got to say, he was I was wearing a Dusty Rhodes T-shirt. He literally picked me out of the crowd and started talking to me about Dusty because he saw my shirt. He is possibly one of the nicest guys I've ever encountered in the world of wrestling. Seriously,
he is, and he is, and I had so much fun, and it clicked between us because I wasn't in competition with him at all. He was so good and so hot, and I was just a jobber. So there was no confrontation. We had so much fun, and I enjoyed working him. I enjoyed seeing him work so much, because he was wildfire, Tommy Rich, and he used to go out there and he'd never blow up. He'd just keep going, and he is great. And when we meet now in Comic Cons again, we see each other, and he's got that deep voice there, and his voice changed a bit. But
the funny part about it is, it was at like some comic book store or something up here, and He was about 10, 15 minutes late because he was going to get a sandwich next door and a 6-pack of beer. So it's like when he
that
pulled in.
didn't change. I guess that didn't change.
I thought it was hilarious, personally.
After a match, he stopped to get a 6-pack. I'll tell you, but that's okay. It was Tommy Rich, and like I said, he'd have his 6-pack. He'd never go to the gym. He'd never go to the gym. He had the shittiest looking body. I'll tell you. When he was young, he's skinny but he is wildfire. I'll tell you. His blonde hair, the girls just freaked out over his blonde hair and his looks. He looked good, and so no, he was different. But that's what made him popular.
So you ended up winning the Central States tag titles with Butch Reed, then known as Bruce Reed, under
the Salt and Pepper team.
Yeah. Tell me about working with Butch that early on. This was 1981, I believe.
Yeah.
In Canada. Yep. In Montreal, it says. Yep. So tell me about that. Teaming with Butch Reed. You guys would, I guess, reunite at some point in the WWF later on, right? Probably 87 when he came in.
Yeah. Not for long. I don't remember him that much. I remember seeing him. We weren't that close, but in Kansas City we were, because we were tag team champions, and so we had to travel together and do some things together, and we got along really good. He was very nice. Butch Reed was very nice, but he was always he was kind of low key kind of guy. But I enjoyed that experience because winning the tag team championship with him and the Salt and Pepper team that they used to call us, because black and white, but that marked me in my career. I enjoyed that very much, and Kansas City was a good experience for me, going to St. Louis and Kansas City, Tupelo, Mississippi, and on, just going around the whole mid states. There it was fun. It was a good time.
Did you like? Obviously, we just said that, but do you like working like the Southern states, like as part of the territory system, like a lot, like bouncing from territory to territory? Because it was different than 1986 when you signed with WWF. Then you kind of like traveled internationally, really. So
the best territory I've ever worked before working was Pensacola for Robert Fuller. That was the best. Robert Fuller, he taught me so much. He was my booker, he was my boss, and he put me in main events. I actually won my first heavyweight title, as a young kid. I was 21 years old against Joe LeDuc, and and we were traveling. What a great place to be in Pensacola. Short trip. Dothan, Alabama, 45 minutes away, and then Montgomery, and then Birmingham, and then Dothan. Stay over that night and do a little spot show around. And I'd spend like 3-4 days at the beach in Pensacola a week. Just that we were living right on the beach, and so that was the place to be. And Robert was it was fun because he wasn't only my boss, he was my partner, my traveling partner. I used to travel with him, so I learned so much, because as we were going along the trip, sometimes 2.5-hour trips to Birmingham on the Mondays, and Wednesdays was like an hour and a half, 3-hour trip. We'd go and he'd do his bookings, and so I eventually started giving him my ideas, just talking with him, and I wouldn't talk too much, but then some once in a blue moon, he'd say, "What do you think, Jacques?" And then I'd say, "Well, this." And next thing you know, at the end, it wasn't "What do you think, Jacques?" It was like me and him were going at it, like just doing the booking. I almost became his assistant booker, but learning a lot, and going to Dothan, Alabama, and being put in some angles. He put me in some angles that drew money where I'll never forget that, because we used to go hide with his van, like about far away in the parking lot at Dothan, Alabama, and we'd do the TV show in the afternoon, like at noon or something in Dothan, for the show that night, and people would see the show live at noon, and then they'd come see the climax at the end that night. Yep. And so we do the angles, and then we go hide, and then there was a street light going into the auditorium there in Dothan, and there was a street light, and you'd see like on a good night, you'd see like 7-8 cars wanting to flash to come in, and the light would turn, you'd see them come in, and then on a bad night, it'd be like 3-4 cars, and then the next night, 3-4 cars. But it was fun, because I remember, I'll never forget me and Joe LeDuc, when we did that angle where he shaved my hair off. I was a good-looking kid then, and I had nice blonde hair, and then he shaved my head on TV. And I came back and I took the belt that night from him for the first time, and there was like 9, 10, 11 cars on every light. They wanted to see Jacques Rougeau kick Joe LeDuc's ass, so that was fun. It was a great experience.
Yeah, that had to be quite. I mean, working Joe LeDuc, who, in my eyes, absolute legend. He didn't get his due in WWF when he came in there for that short period. I don't think he's older then as well. But that guy doesn't get talked about enough. I don't think in the
I
modern
agree.
era.
So. Where I enjoyed him the most. Could you imagine? I'm 5-6 years old. He comes to wrestle my dad. And then next thing you know, I wrestle him in Pensacola for the belt. You talk about some history. You talk about some history there. And when I'll tell you a nice story about Joe too. I know he's not with us anymore. He'll never know this, but I'm going to tell you something about Joe. When I went to Pensacola, when Robert booked me there for the first time, I landed at the airport in Pensacola, and when I went to get my luggage, Joe LeDuc was there, and I couldn't believe it. I looked at Joe and I said, "Joe, just face it. What are you doing here?" And then he says, "Well, I'm here to pick you up." And I looked at him and I said, because my father really took care of him when he was in Montreal. Yeah. And so he came to pick me up. And when he picked me up, we're going down to the beach in Pensacola Beach. He told me, I got to the Howard Johnson on the beach. And he said to me, he opened his door. He says, "I got 2 beds here." He says, "That bed's yours." And he says, "My fridge is always full." So he says, "For the next month, until you start to save a little bit of money, till you find your own place," he says, "my home is your home."
Wow.
So I'll never forget that.
That's amazing. That's truly amazing. So, a few more questions, and then I'll let you go.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go there, Rick.
Yeah, no. What was it like? You ended up. What was it like teaming up with Carl Ouellet? Like as far as like shifting from, obviously you had the great singles run as the Mountie, and then teaming up with him as the Quebecers. And I remember that you guys there fondly in that WWF time, wrestling the Steiners and such.
Yeah, well, it was it was my year off from the Mountie. The Mounties, the real Royal Canadian Mounties, banned me from TV in Canada. They took an injunction. They took an injunction against WWF. So my character died off really fast after the Big Boss Man and Sergeant Slaughter. I did a little something with him, and then there was too much heat on the Mountie suit. So it was like I was giving a bad image. So I had to take a break for a year, and then I was doing some shots in Puerto Rico for Carlos Colon. And then Carl Ouellet was just on the first match of the evening. He came to see me on the beach that day, and he says in French to me, he says, "Hey, salut Jacques," and I told him, I said, "Hey, you speak French?" And he says, yeah. He says, "Listen, I've been trying to get in the WWF for 11 years. I've been sending tapes and stuff, and they don't respond." He says, "Would you mind looking at my match tonight?" And I says, "No, not at all." From one French Canadian to another. I said, "Sure, why not?" So I was against Abdullah that night, and then he was like in the first match. So I was like, okay, no problem. So I went there and I watched this match, and I couldn't believe what I saw.
Yeah,
I said, "Holy shit!" I said, "This guy deserves to be with us." Yeah. So then I told Carl after his match. He came to see me. He said, "Did you see my match after his match?" I said, "Yeah, I saw it." I said, "Listen, give me your phone number." I said, "I'll call you in about a week." He said, I'm going to talk to Vince. He said, "Oh, no." I said, "Yeah, I'm going to talk to Vince." And next thing you know, about 8 months later, me and him, the first night we came in, we took the straps off the Steiners with the Quebec rules. And Johnny Polo was the manager.
I watched that live on TV.
And I told Vince, I called Vince up. I said, "Vince," I said, "I got a new partner." He says, "Oh, yeah?" I said, "Yeah, I got a new guy. I think," I said, "we could do really good as a tag team." Mm-hmm. And I said, "We're not the Mounties." And then that's where that song came after Jimmy Hart did. "We're not the Mounties," but I'll have to say that I believed in his talent, and I knew that he would be a great partner for me because he didn't mind bumping all over like crazy, and I was getting a little older in my career, so I was doing different things in the ring, going over my charisma, and he was like the crazy bumper. So I said, "What a great team we could do!" And then I put a ring in the back of my house in Quebec, and we practiced like 3 times a week, all kinds of crazy moves together, and we came in with a new dimension when we came in as a Quebecers with every move we do was tag team. And we tag in and do whether it was the tower, whether it was the leg sweep, whether it was the Boston Crab with the leg drop off the second rope from him, and all the moves that we prepared were completely different than anybody else. And then so that was great. And then we took the titles 3 times, and then in the year that followed.
Would you believe he's still at it today? Have you seen?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's insane that what he's doing. Still at his age, he's amazing. Still,
he's a machine. He really is a machine. And but it's it's going to catch up with him, though. When it's going to catch up, because a guy who takes bumps on the cement floors like that and does all those crazy things, there comes a time where, you know, you better save while you can. Because it's no human being could take the hips and eventually and that. So I wish him a long run again. You know, as I think he's done amazing for himself, and he's Frankenstein now. And but hey, you know, it's all good. You know, he's living his passion. You know, and that's all that counts is when a guy has a chance to live his dream. Huh?
I just want to remind everybody it's May 7th. On your YouTube channel. I'll put that link here again for everybody to check out. Is there anything else you'd like to close out with today?
You know, thank you so much, Rick, for giving me all this time and to talk about my project. You know, being one of the biggest competition around the globe right now, I appreciate everybody that's giving me the recognition for it. But I want to thank you for making me have fun tonight, reminiscing in my old days. It's always good to go back, especially the small territory talk. I always have fun with that. So yes, wrestling-academy.ca. Follow the competition. Go see all the characters. There's 4 shows in Montreal this year. The 7th of May, quarterfinals. 4th of June, quarterfinals. And then the 20th of August is a semifinals, the best of May against the best of June. And then the finals on the 17th of September, where QT Marshall is going to wrestle in Montreal against one of the losers of the competition. But he's also going to choose the 3 winners of $10,000 and 3 months to spend at the Nightmare Factory in Atlanta with Billy Gunn, QT Marshall, and Cody Rhodes. What a great experience. So thank everybody. And I want to wish good luck to all the competitors, because I always show my podcast like this to all my competitors. So I want to wish good luck to all the Canadian talent, female and male. And I can't wait to start this we're 2.5 weeks away, 2 weeks away, May 7th on a Sunday night. And have a thought for me, guys. Have a thought for us.
Jacques, I want to thank you very much. It's been a complete honor for sitting here talking to you for the last hour. And maybe we can do it again sometime. We can talk a little bit more of the history and stuff. But I had a blast. Thank you.
Who knows? There may be we had a 2022. We have a 2023. Maybe we'll have a 2024 edition of Wrestling Academy. We'll talk again.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Available on all streaming platforms. It's professional wrestling's greatest, largest, privately owned wrestling library. All the classic hits, flips, slams, and pins of yesteryear are on one place. It's Ultimate Classic Wrestling. Check out the Nature Boy Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Mr. USA Tony Atlas, Tito Santana, Rick Martel, a who's who of professional wrestling's greatest spotlight stars ever to grace the squared circle, all in one place. Grab the best seat in the house for memories and mayhem on Ultimate Classic Wrestling.